thank you all so much for being able to carve out some time each month as well to be able to join in. We're going to start off this morning with our Adult Ed Administrator Guide. It's going to be Mindy Marshall. It's going to be taking over here. There's Mindy. Mindy's ready to roll. So Mindy, thank you so much for being here with us today to again talk about the Administrator Guide for Adult Ed. And I'm going to go ahead and get muted and let you take it from here, everybody. Also, please remember to keep your mic muted. If you have any questions, just put those into the comments section and we will take care of those at the appropriate time. And also stay logged on just long enough that whenever Mindy completes her presentation, we've got a brief survey that will take you less than 90 seconds to finish that up. It's just a handful of questions there. So again, Mindy, whenever you're ready to roll.
Great. Thank you, Nathan. And good morning, everyone. So our last, what we're finishing up the year with is what we call our new administrator's guide. And it's really just an overview of the program. So when we find out that there's a new administrator to one of our programs, we ask our regional coordinator to meet with the new administrator. And we also have this handy dandy little guide that we provide to them that just gives them an overview of the program. So we're currently in the process of making updates to our guide. So the new guide will be available after July 1. Nothing major change, just a few small updates, as things change throughout the year. I'm going to share my screen, if you don't mind, to pull it up just to kind of walk through it, through the administrator's guide. It can be found on our website, on the department's website. So I'm going to, let's see, hang on, bear with me. See if I can get it up here on my screen. Okay. Somebody will have to let me know if they can see it.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm trying to get there. I had it up and ready to go, but of course, that's the way it goes.
Hey, Mindy, this is Alyssa. I also shared the PDF in the chat for folks.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Well, I'm not having any luck with pulling it up. Oh, so anyway, I'll just move forward. You guys don't have to see the pages. So the first part of the administrator's guide talks about the role of adult ed. It talks about the legislation that we're funded under, how the funding streams work, gives a little bit of the background on how that works between the state agencies and the federal agencies. It moves on. This really just kind of is the guide for new administrators, just so they have an idea of maybe where to start, because we know that adult ed is a little different from their regular CTE programs, operates a little bit differently, has a different set of rules and regulations. So we just want to make sure that they have a good understanding of that. Also talks about the students that we served, who we can serve, who we can't serve, the target population, gives a little description of those things, how to handle confidential records of students. When students come in and they're asked questions about, have they had a learning disability in the past, maybe when they were in high school or something like that. Just tells them how to handle and process those types of records and those types of forms. It has some tips on how to hire for adult education. Again, I know a lot of counties, when they post a job position, it's always, whoever has the most seniority gets the job. But sometimes it's helpful to have some guidance to go by, maybe what to look for in an instructor. Have they ever served an adult population before? That type of thing. It talks about going through the CTE teacher prep program, which most CTE administrators are very familiar with that, as they hire folks from business and industry. We do the same thing in adult education. If somebody has a teaching certification when they come to us, that's great. But if they don't, they are afforded that same opportunity and requirement now to go through the CTE teacher prep program. So after they're hired, we're kind of following the same protocols that CTE is, and requiring them to go through the teacher prep program. So we've really found that to be very beneficial for our instructors as well. So this, the guide also gives some sample job descriptions, things that we look for, that we would like to have in a teacher, some qualifications, maybe some background that they might have. That helps them. We have a job description for an adult ed teacher, a full-time, a part-time teacher, also for an English as second language instructor as well. Gives them some tips on hiring. It also talks about the professional development that will be required as they go through an adult education program, what's required of a full-time instructor and a part-time instructor. It has some interviewing tips, some questions, some sample questions, that type of thing. Again, when an instructor is hired through adult education, we have a program, what we call pre-service, and that gets the instructor started with our program. They have several courses that they have to go through, and then they are also assigned a mentor to help guide them through. We know it's a large task when you come into a new program, just trying to learn everything, and it can be extremely overwhelming to folks when they first come in. So we try to work with them, ease their minds a little bit. Our regional coordinators are there. We have regional coordinators in all the regions in the state. And so between a mentor and our regional coordinator, we hope that we give that new teacher assistance that they need to help them in their new position. I was just kind of flipping through here to see some of the other things that we talk about. That one section we have is program management, how their budgeting works, how their grant awards are funded, them being part of an advisory or an interagency council. We'd like for our folks to be involved, that to show the collaboration that they have with other partners, also with folks, especially the ones that are co-located at a CTE center. And also then that also opens up other doors and avenues for them to have a nice network of folks, especially the business and industry folks that are involved with the CTE councils. We ask our programs to do a needs assessment just to see if what they're doing is actually working. Do you need to perhaps have some flexibility in your program and maybe offer some evening hours for those folks, those adults who may be working during the day and would like to have a program in the evening? With adult education, if you're a full-time instructor, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work 7 to 3 or 8 to 4 every day. You could flex your schedule. A lot of folks do that and maybe offer 2 evenings a week where maybe they would work 12 to 8 or something like that. So we ask folks to do needs program in their area, because as we know, all counties are different. They're so different from one part of the state to the other, and everyone's needs are absolutely different. So we try to make sure that they understand that they have that flexibility. And of course, we want to be good stewards of the money, and we also want to be very flexible to our students based on their needs and what they need. We want to help them in every way possible. So it's nice to have that flexibility that has been put in. We also have some tips on marketing your program, different things. Again, we know different things work differently around the state. What works good here in Kanawha County might not work so good in Tucker County. So we leave that up to the individual counties or regions in order to do things, your community, your local restaurants or your local stores, your local schools and libraries and offices. So however you feel like gets the word out the best in your area. Maybe radio works better than newspaper. So we do a lot at the state level as far as marketing for West Virginia adult education, but we know that doesn't always trickle down to the local level. So we push out as much as we can from our level, and then we just ask the local folks to kind of follow through with that and push it on out to where they feel like the needs are in their specific areas. We have another section. I know a lot of the CTE folks are involved with the LPN program, and that we do, some people call it a boot camp, some people call it a bridge program, to work with those students coming into a CTE program. So we have some examples and some models in this administrator's guide that kind of works through that, explains it, tells them, just gives them some examples and some ideas to see if that's something that they would like to have done with not only just the LPNs, but other programs that they have, adult programs they have at their centers. It talks about when you have a new student coming in, if you want to do what we call managed intake, we ask folks to come in for and testing. So the program can figure out how they want that to look. Do they want to do that 1 day a week? Do they want to do it once a month? Do they want to do it twice a week? Totally up to them. But it gives them an idea of how to manage that, to do the intake of the student, the orientation process, and then also when they come in, when they have to do their testing. We talk a little bit about our data system, which we call that the bread and butter of our program, basically, because the reports that we have to submit to the U.S. Department of Education is how a lot of times we're funded, not only by the population in the state, but also on our numbers. And yes, they can be very convoluted at times, and a lot of times we wonder why we have to follow this accountability, because sometimes it doesn't always make great sense to us, but it's what we're required to do. And so we have a new data system. So we've updated this to reflect our new data system that we put into place last year. So still a lot of questions about that and how the new data system works. And we actually have been very pleased. We had a homegrown system previously, and we either outgrew it or it outgrew us. But nevertheless, we have switched over to a new system. And this is a data system that many other states use, 25 other states use the new system that we went to. So we have a little bit of security in that, in the fact that if 25 other states are using it and things are going good for them, then we feel like we made a really good decision with that. So there's a section that talks about the accountability and the data system as far as that goes, the reporting that we have to do at the end of the year. We also have a section that talks about the monitoring. Of course, when you have federal funds, you have to have additional accountability with, are your programs doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are the funds being spent the way they're supposed to be spent? So we have our program monitoring, and we've actually made some updates to our monitoring system this year. We had some changes in staff. We had a new data system come on board last year. So we've made a few changes to that. Nothing major, but just some tweaks in the system and how it's being done. We have a new team. Cindy Sundstrom and Nick Northrup and Tim Anderson have taken on that challenge. And with COVID, of course, it's been even more challenging. But they've done a great job with revamping the program after Ed Hicks retired last year. So there are a lot of they're doing a lot of catch up, so to speak, with that. So they've been doing part of it virtually. They've been actually, once the department allowed us to go back out face to face, they've done some face to face visits. So that's working out real well for us in trying to make sure that we're doing what we're doing to keep the feds happy. So that's a new process. We have Also, with the new data system, we have incorporated some new reporting. So now our teachers are actually submitting some data reports to us monthly. You may have heard some conversation with that with our instructors. I think that helps folks to have a better understanding of where they are each month. They can take a look at their data, which before perhaps that wasn't happening as often as it probably should have. But now with this monthly required report that we've asked them to submit, I think folks will have a better feel of where they stand in their program, what they might need to do. And so that's been a newly incorporated thing too. I think we've been doing that since January. So we've got a couple of months under our belt now. And again, we're tweaking that and working on that as we go along. Nothing's ever set in stone at first. So we're all kind of learning too as we go along. The administrator's guide also has in the back, it has an appendices, and it has a lot of the different forms that we use in the program. We always post the program assurances, which goes out with the application every year. It tells you, it has a list of items to make that you can follow just to make sure that you're being compliant with the program. We also have the protocols that are attached to your grant award every year. We have a listing of the 13 considerations which come directly from the federal regulations, which is how we administer our programs and the expectations that are put forth for programs to meet. Some confidentiality forms. These are copies of the forms that the students sign and become a part of their file when they enter into our program. We have the confidentiality agreement, things like your technology acceptable use policy, that sort of thing that students that we need to keep on track for our students. A media release that we ask them to sign. So we have that form on file in case there's something that we ever, perhaps want to use them in a picture or a video or something that we may be doing marketing wise. We'd like to have that on file. So that's really, we have the needs assessment is in the back. And really, basically, it's just an overview of the guide. Like I said, we're getting ready to tweak it. When a new administrator comes on board, we send them a welcoming letter along with this administrator's guide. It's an overview. Of course, the handbook is also on the department's webpage, which is basically, that's the whole program in a nutshell, although I wouldn't want to print it out because it usually goes into like a 3 or 4 inch ring binder. So we've gotten away from actually printing out a handbook and putting everything online. So this is basically the cheap version. So again, the new administrator will receive a letter, will receive a guide, and then a follow-up phone call from the regional coordinator in that area to set up an appointment to go meet with them, talk with them, answer any questions they might have, or to give them any technical assistance that they might have, especially if they're a new administrator or perhaps even just a seasoned administrator, but might have a new teacher and they haven't hired a new teacher for a while. So any of that type of technical assistance that we can provide, we're always willing to come out and do that. So that's, and any of my team that's on the call, if they have anything else they want to add, I think we have a couple of the regional coordinators on here. If they have anything they'd like to add that maybe I didn't cover or I missed because they're out there doing that technical assistance, feel free to add anything. Or actually, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wow, Mindy, and the chat's clear, no questions there, nothing else. You've thoroughly explained everything when there's no question. One last chance there for questions for Mindy. If not, I think you'll be seeing the survey getting ready to drop into the chat function, and it's there right now. It just got put in. So again, thanks for joining us for our 9:30 Tech Talk. We've got another one starting here in just a few minutes at 10 o'clock. So be sure and jump over on the link there If you're only attending this one and not doing the 10 o'clock one, and you were thinking of maybe sliding into the last few minutes of that one, please know that we're not going to have the office hours with our leadership team this morning. That's not going to be available due to some scheduling conflicts there. But again, thank you all so much for joining Mindy this morning. Mindy, wonderful job going over the Adult Ed Administrator Guide.
Thank you, Nathan.